Hello everyone and welcome to another art lesson with UdoCreatives. Today, we will be going over the process of how to draw a hand using charcoal and graphite pencils. If you find this video helpful, please like and subscribe to UdoCreatives for more art content. For this video, I will be using majorly brushes. Our video titled Introduction to Drawing with Charcoal and Graphite Pencils gives a brief introduction into the tools I use. For my pencils, I'm going to be using the 1 Grey 5 color pencil from Master Art. I'll also be using my carbon pencils. They are my favorite pencils for creating outlines for dark areas. I'll also be using my Mono Zero eraser and my Polychromo 1 Grey 1 and black color pencils. I'll use the Perfection eraser primarily to create highlights. I'm also going to be using this 6B Wolves carbon pencil alongside some Faber-Castell pencils to add some shades where needed. I'll also be using my Conté Paris charcoal pencil. For most of my shading, I'm going to be using the Jacka compressed charcoal set. Without further delay, let's get started. Using my 5H pencil, I'm going to start with my outline. I typically use the grid method to create my outline. The grid method is one of the best and easiest methods for getting your outlines right, especially when drawing from a reference. Our How to Draw a Face video covers an example of the grid method in detail. I've added the link in description. Let's create our outline. Now, let's erase out our grid lines carefully. Next, I am going to use my 5H graphite pencil to mark out the dark areas on my hand. The reason why I'm actually doing this is because shading hands can be very, very technical sometimes. Hands tend to have areas of depth. Representing this depth in your drawings gives that three-dimensional effect used in realism. For me, marking out these areas first makes this representation easier to achieve later on. So before going in and shading with my charcoal, I am adding a layer as a guide for my darker areas. I'm using my graphite pencil to create some hatching and cross-hatching shades. Hatching and cross-hatching is shading in this direction. I advise that you read up on shading techniques to get an idea of the different techniques available. Pay close attention to the direction of my shade as well. Here, I'm going to be creating some depth. Now, using my 6B carbon pencil, I'm going to improve the outlines on some of our dark areas and bring out depth as well. Now using my hard brush, I'm going to shade and blend the lines that I've made with my carbon pencil. One thing to consider during this step as well is the light direction in your work and how far that light extends. I'll keep outlining with my pencil and blending with my hard brush until I am satisfied. Looking at it, I want to make the top of the finger more visible. I feel very satisfied with how this is looking so far. Now I can start shading proper using my charcoal. First, I will use my hard brush to apply dark compressed charcoal to this side of the hand. Remember to keep your light direction and profile in mind. Also consider how this will affect your shadows. There's a lot of thought that goes into representing lights and shadows in art. I'm being extremely careful here while applying the charcoal. Also because I am kind of nervous that I might overdo it. Yes, even teachers get nervous sometimes. But that's the beauty of art. I have faith that my techniques and process will allow my vision to come to life. So using my 5H pencil, I'm going to be adding some depth and improving some outlines here. The difference in grades might not be obvious to beginners, so I advise you to quickly search pencil grade chart in Google. You will see a lot of charts showing how different grades of pencils look like. One good reason for improving your outlines is to avoid them getting lost when you shade. I'll create some shades here with my bristle brush now. I'll create some shades for the fingernails. Remember to be cautious of your light profile. Next, I'm going to be using my hard brush to apply some medium gray charcoal. Next, I will apply some charcoal using my soft brush. Next, I'm going to be using my hard brush to apply some medium gray charcoal to this side of the hand. Here, I'm applying black compressed charcoal. Now, I will be using my bristle brush to blend the shade I made earlier with my hard brush. The bristle brush is also a hard brush, but the textures are slightly different. Next, I'm going to apply some depth here at the edge of the hand to this side, just to create that hard shadow. Here, I'm using my Mono 0 on the edges to make them more pronounced. I'll create some shades for the fingernails. I'm using my Mono 0 here to bring out some highlights for the fingernail. I'm going to be adding some depth on this area here. Then I'm going to be blending with my brush. We're slowly achieving a good form for our hands. I'm applying some more mid-gray compressed charcoal here. Now, using my soft brush, I'm going to be softly applying some light gray compressed charcoal to this area. What I'm doing here is using my 5H pencil to create a subtle outline. After this, I will blend using my hard brush. This will help make sure my fingernail form doesn't get lost when I shade the area. Right now, using my hard brush, I'm going to apply some depth here. I'm just spreading the charcoal. Next, I'll use my Mono 0 to bring out some highlights. Here, I'm bringing some highlights on the fingernail. I'm using the 5H to make the edges of the fingernail a bit more pronounced. By using my hard brush, I'm going to be applying some dark charcoal to the edges of this finger. I can use my Mono 0 to erase off excess charcoal. I'll repeat the same steps over here. Next, using my soft brush, I'll be applying a soft shade to this area. As an artist, make sure to experiment with your tools when you can. This will help you to understand what effects you can create with them. Practice is key to improving and building confidence in your technique. I'll slightly blend with my bristle brush here. Using my soft brush, I'm applying some light gray compressed charcoal here. Next, I'll be using my hard brush to apply some depth here. Right now, I'm using my brush to draw the edges of the finger. Now, using my 4H pencil, I will create a soft shade. I'll also still be creating my highlights with my light profile in mind. Here, I'm using my brush and blending in a bit. Now, I'm using my brush here to create a soft shade which will indicate a vein. Let's work on the last finger. I'll be applying a shade using my soft brush and then using my hard brush to apply some dark shade around the edges. This will indicate that there is a shadow being cast at this point. Remember, if you are trying to achieve realism in your work, shading is probably the most important step. At least in my opinion. I'm creating a shade here using my 5H. I will blend it with my hard brush. Next, I'll be using my soft brush to shade the entire area of the hand. Here, I'm using my bristle brush to spread some more charcoal. Next, I'll be using my hard brush here to create some shadows on the edges of the hand. I'm using my bristle brush to spread more charcoal. Now using my hard brush, I'll be shading and adding some depth. I really love shading because of how many different effects you can achieve with it. Here, I'll be using my soft brush to apply some shade. For the vein over here, I'll use my pencil to start and then I will use my hard brush to create a shade. I'll do the same over here. What I'm doing here now is using my black compressed charcoal to apply a soft outline. Notice that I am softly blending it. Next, I'll use the perfection eraser to bring out some textures of the veins. Think of it as bringing out highlights in the right area. I'll be using my soft brush with some white charcoal powder to blend in a bit. I'll also use my hard brush to shade the sides of the veins. This combination will give it that realistic feel. Next, I'll be using my 1 Grey 5 color pencil to add some details around. I'll shade with my brush around these areas. Next, I'll be using the Mono 0 eraser to apply some highlights around. Next, I'll use my 4H pencil to draw some X patterns around, just to texturize my work. Give it some texture. I'm just applying some shades around areas that I feel need it. I'll be using the Mono 0 eraser to pull out some highlights around. I'll keep using my 4H pencil to draw patterns around to add textures and details. Now, I'll use the Perfection Eraser and my pencil eraser to create some dotted lines. I'll keep adding similar textures around until I'm satisfied. What I will do next is use my 1 Grey 5 and 4H pencils respectively to draw some wavy hair strands around the hand. Each of these pencils will give a slightly different effect. Pay close attention to that. Texturing is all about being creative. Don't be shy to leverage your tools and create something amazing. Now we have come to the end of this tutorial showing how to draw a hand using charcoal and graphite. Remember to experiment and practice to get a better command of your skills and tools. I hope that you've gained insightful techniques in this tutorial, and I hope to see you use these techniques in your drawings. Thank you very much for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to UdoCreatives for more art content.